В момента е точно 3 часа. It is exactly 3 o'clock p.m. With Lockheed Martin, everything is exact on time. Your Excellencies, I would like to specially welcome the chairman of the Defense Committee of the Bulgarian Parliament. Добре дошъл на председателя на Комисията по отбрана, генерал Попов, ваш колега, пилот, минал през цялата стълбица на въоръжените сили, за да влезе в парламента. И до него председателя на комисията на економическата комисия към парламента, господин Петър Кънев, и депутати от тези две комисии, и не само от тях, и от други. Искам специално да ви благодаря за вашето присъствие. България се намира в момента на важен избор, важен за нашата отбрана, за нашите въоръжени сили, за модернизацията на армията, и ние сме готови да предоставим възможността на всички, които се интересуват от българските въоръжени сили, да покажат своето производство. Do you have the translation devices you can use if you want? This one. We have two speakers today. Before they start using their simultaneous translation devices, I will switch for a minute in English. Is it okay? I think so. Randy, it's okay? Okay, it works. Представям нашите двама спикери днес. Това са Ранди Хауърд, който е директор на бизнес развитие на F-16, F-22, международната интегрираната бойна група и в Lockheed Martin аеронавтика. Той е основният интерфейс на компанията и старши консултант по отношение на развитието и поддръжката на ключовите взаимоотношения с клиенти, разработване на стратегии и предложения. Тоест, той от тук ще тръгне с предложение. Между 2010 и 2014 той е директор на компанията и отговаря за продажбата на 40 самолета, забележете 40, не по-малко, F-35A на Република Корея. Предишните му назначения в Lockheed Martin включват F-35, преследване, улавяне в Италия и Сингапур. Генерал Попов ще ме поправи в терминологията. Господин Хауърд се присъединява към Lockheed Martin аеронавтика през 2007 година, след 20 годишна кариера като офицер в военновъздушните сили на Съединените щати. Преди това е в офиса на F-16 за системно програмиране. От 2001 до 2005 ние с него паралелно работим в американското и българското правителство по няколко много успешни проекта, включително присъединяването ни към НАТО. Но за разлика от мене, той тогава управлява бюджет от 9 милиарда долара в работата си с Египет. Малко повече от моят бюджет във външно министерство. Последната задача на господин Хауърд в ВВС е в офиса на програмата Joint Strike Fighter Program Office в Вашингтон, където управлява програмните дейности на F-35 с страни като Австралия, Дания, Норвегия и Холандия. И нашата голяма мечта е един ден, когато българските въоръжени сили изявят съответното желание и им бъде осигурен необходимия бюджет, да преминем от F-16 към F-35. Другият наш панелист, който ще направи презентацията, е Джеймс Робинсън, старши менеджер на по международно бизнес развитие на Lockheed Martin аеронавтика. Той докладва директно на вице-президента за международно бизнес развитие в Форт Уърт, Тексас. Преди да се присъедини към присъединява се през 2012 към Lockheed Martin. Служи 20 години в военновъздушните сили на Съединените щати и сме в този смисъл малко колеги с него, тъй като аз имам 2 часа полет на F-16. Но това, което е изключително интересно от неговата биография е, той има повече, той има 1500 часа на самолет, но това, което е изключително интересно от неговата биография, и тук съм сигурен, че това ще зарадва и журналистите, защото създава една дългосрочна връзка с Lockheed Martin, той е работил много дълго време първо в Норад, Канзас, североамериканското командване на Съединените щати, но този същия Норад, за тези от вас, които са забравили или не знаят, е командването, което следи как се движи дядо Коледа. Когато дойде бъдни вечер, те в Норад започват да следят как се движи дядо Коледа и къде, кога отива и къде се посреща новата година. Така че можем да кажем, че ще посрещнем новата година, предвождани от Джеймс Робинсън. С тези няколко думи искам да приветствате нашите гости. Каня ви да ги приветствате по обичайния начин и да им дадем думата да кажат това, което имат предвид. Most welcome.
Thank you, sir. All right, I want to make sure that I'm in the right spot. Can everybody see me? And everybody can hear me. Well, first and foremost, I want to make sure that I thank you on behalf of my boss, Randy Howard, and thank you on behalf of Lockheed Martin for taking your time. To the VIPs here, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. And to our friend Kalinka, thank you very much, Kalinka, for putting this all together. What I want to do is I'm going to step you through a Lockheed Martin corporate overview, and then I'll step on to an F-16 Block 70 briefing to give you an idea of what Lockheed Martin plans to offer for the Bulgarian Air Force multi-role fighter competition. So without further ado, let me take you through our corporate overview. This is our corporate leadership structure. As you can see, we're led by Marilyn Houston. She's our chairman and CEO. Marilyn Houston has been in the job now, I think, for a little over 4 years and is doing an excellent job with the corporation. Randy and I report to the gentleman in the top middle. His name is Orlando Carvalho, and he's the Executive Vice President for Lockheed Martin Aeronautics that's located in multiple locations across the U.S., primarily based in Fort Worth, Texas. Next slide, please. So what do we want to do at Lockheed Martin? Our vision. Our vision is to supply the customer with the best equipment, the best support, the best training that we can provide and offer. And so what we do as Lockheed Martin is we always keep the customer in mind. We keep the customer first, if you will. Next chart, please. These are our corporate values. Do what's right, respect others, and perform with excellence. Next chart. So how is Lockheed Martin put together? Lockheed Martin is a large corporation, 100,000 people in Lockheed Martin, of which 50% or almost 50% are scientists and engineers, because we understand that in order to sell wonderful products, we have to build wonderful products, and we think that our engineers are the core to what make our products the best in the world. We have 400 facilities worldwide, and we operate in 52 countries with over 7,200 employees at our international locations. Primarily, as you can see, our customers are in the U.S., primarily the Department of Defense, but we go through all the other departments of the U.S. as well: Homeland Security, Commerce, Energy, the Department of State, and the Department of Transportation, because we have a wide range of things that we offer as a company, a wide range of products and services. We work with NASA, the space agency, intelligence communities, and 70 governments worldwide. What is our business structure? 4 key business areas, as you can see. We're going to talk today about aeronautics primarily, but we're also going to talk briefly about missiles and fire control, rotary and mission systems, and space. What is Lockheed Martin Aeronautics? Lockheed Martin Aeronautics, at least in our opinion, and we're probably biased a little bit, is the best defense aerospace company in the world. What do we offer? Tactical fighters. The F-16, the F-35, the F-22, tactical and strategic airlift aircraft. We offer the C-130J now, as well as the legacy C-130s, and we support and sustain the C-5. Advanced development is really one of the keys to Lockheed Martin Aeronautics. You may have heard the term Skunk Works and seen aircraft like the U-2, the SR-71, the F-117. Those are some of the great successes that come out of the legacy of Lockheed Martin and our advanced development programs, as well as the current stealth and 4th and 5th gen technology aircraft you see today. And the sustainment operations. If you want to fly modern aircraft and do modern combat, you have to have modern sustainment. And so Lockheed Martin takes great pride in helping our customers sustain our products. But that's just one part of 4 parts of our company. So Lockheed Martin has rotary and mission systems, and I'll let you read what rotary and mission systems do, but rotary and mission systems has changed greatly over the past few years. We acquired Sikorsky helicopters, and added that to our great line of products at Lockheed Martin. And so now Rotary Mission Systems not only does maritime equipment and surveillance, we outfit aircraft and ships with rotary mission systems, but we also sell helicopters and simulators, and we can offer the full, complete training package that goes with any aircraft. Missiles and fire control, air defense, some of the great products you see around Central Europe, built by our company there at Missiles and Fire Control, as well as advanced targeting pods. So the sniper targeting pod is part of our Missiles and Fire Control business unit, as well as a lot of weapons that come out of there. And then space. All the key components of space, including deep space exploration, technology, the rover that landed on Mars, many of the things that you see in space are Lockheed Martin products. Next slide. What does our sales portfolio look like? Right now, our company is at $51 billion of sales. As you can see, the bulk of those sales comes out of aeronautics and the aircraft sales that come out of the aeronautics line of business. Next slide. But this is an important part. So of that sales portfolio we talk about, our CEO, Marilyn Houston, said years ago when I joined the company that we need to increase our international footprint and focus more on our international customers. And so we've expanded our international sales portfolio, and now you can see it at $15 billion, which is approximately 30% of our overall business. So what is Lockheed Martin International? We've already talked about the 4 business units, but all 4 business units have a strong presence around the world and continue to do so. But then, as you can see on the bottom, cross-business capability integration. And so for a program like this in Bulgaria, something that we're very interested in and happy to be here to help pursue, when you get a Lockheed Martin product, an F-16 may have a sniper targeting pod, it may have a Lockheed Martin simulator, so we're going to provide the full line of capabilities so that the Bulgarian Air Force gets a complete system as well as a sustainment that goes with that. Next chart. Our international locations. Currently, we have offices in Romania and Greece, as well as the other international locations you see. But this is to show our strong presence around the world, as well as our interest in our international customer base. So why Lockheed Martin? And we'll talk here quickly about the F-16 Block 70, but we like to say we're engineering a better tomorrow. What are we interested in? Really performing for you as our customers. So as we select a customer, or as a customer selects us, more importantly, we want to be there through the entire life cycle of a product. We want to get you the best product and help you maintain that product into the future. All right, off to the next brief, please. So I would be remiss, my boss, Randy Howard, who was introduced earlier on, he said that what we want to talk about today not only is the F-16 Block 70, but that we think the F-16 Block 70 is what Bulgaria deserves. So the multi-role fighter competition is a competition that's important. We understand the importance of it, and we, Lockheed, are completely invested in the F-16 Block 70 for Bulgaria because we think that's the best aircraft in the world as far as 4th-gen aircraft, and we think that Bulgaria deserves the best aircraft in the world. Next slide, please. F-16 program highlights. So as a previous F-16 pilot, you'll probably hear me talk about how great it is to fly the aircraft, but there's also a lot of program highlights that we really need to highlight, and one of the things we think makes the F-16 the best choice for the Bulgarian Air Force and our international customers. The most successful combat aircraft in the world, and that has to go with not only the combat hours we'll talk about here in just a second, but the fact that we've sold up to this date 4,588, and we have now orders to take us for more than 4,600 aircraft. Of those aircraft, 3,000 aircraft or more are still operational in 25 countries around the world. We are moving into new production in Greenville, South Carolina, we're very proud of, and that new technology from all the other programs that we do has made its way onto the new F-16 Block 70. We have production opportunities for more than 400 aircraft, we think, moving forward on the F-16 Block 70 line. So we think that's a critical part of the puzzle. But in addition to that, we'll talk about the F-16V upgrade. And we have customers now just completed with our, not completed, but signed our 4th customer to upgrade their F-16 fleet to the F-16V avionics configuration, which will be the configuration that you see on the F-16 Block 70 we'll talk about here in a minute. And then the ongoing technology flow, and that's building off our F-22 and F-35 programs and taking the technology we learned from those programs and putting them on an F-16 to make the F-16 even better than it already is. 4,600 aircraft on order or procured to date, 28 countries, 139 versions of the F-16. The F-16V, or the F-16 Block 70 being the latest. Over 1,000 upgrades. So our customers buy the aircraft, maintain the aircraft, and they want to upgrade the aircraft, and we at Lockheed are always looking for ways to upgrade those aircraft. 400,000 combat sorties flown, plus, and an undefeated air-to-air record of 75-0. And the nice part, I'm sorry, before you go forward, Lisa, or if you can go backward, the nice part is if you look in the bottom right, our most recent customer was Slovakia, and so that is a proud moment for us as that builds upon the F-16 Block 70 production line that's being based in Greenville, South Carolina, as our latest F-16 customer. Next slide. Global demand is increasing. So I will give Mr. Howard a ton of credit. It was with his vision, his hard work, as well as many other people at Lockheed Martin that we restarted the F-16 line in Greenville, South Carolina, and Bahrain was our sign-on customer. And so we're excited about what the F-16 Block 70 has to do moving forward, as well as the new production line in Greenville, South Carolina. Multiple production opportunities, we've already spoke about that, but we see here in Central Europe as one of the key points in the world, as well as other countries around the world, as where this new F-16 production for F-16 Block 70 can expand moving forward. We spoke about 4 F-16V customers now. So the most recent is Greece. Greece is going to upgrade 85 of their F-16 aircraft to the F-16V configuration. New avionics, new mission computers, new cockpit displays. And then ongoing programs in the U.S. Air Force. And it's critical as you think about when you buy an F-16, what do you buy? When you buy an F-16, you buy the history, you buy the sustainability, you buy the commonality that goes with buying an F-16 vice a jet that maybe there's only a few dozen operating around the world. And part of that is buying into the U.S. Air Force F-16 fleet, as well as the F-16's history, legacy, and capabilities that the U.S. Air Force can help with as we move forward. Now, we can't speak on behalf of the government, but as the U.S. Air Force upgrades their aircraft, all the technologies that they bring in are also going to be available to other customers around the world, so we think that's critical. And then on the bottom right, and you'll see this repeated in the next chart, because we think it's pretty important, is that when you compare the F-16 to other single-engine fighters, you get a lot more aircraft. It goes from being somewhat limited to being almost unlimited, but you have capabilities that go with increased range, increased carriage of weapons, increased time and acceleration, or decreased acceleration, I should say, faster. And so those are the things we think that make the aircraft, an F-16, on par with two-engine aircraft and much better than our other single-engine competitors. Next slide. So what does the Block 70 for Bulgaria look like? Well, the Block 70 for Bulgaria leverages the technology we spoke about, but also you get the legacy, incredible aircraft performance of the F-16. So as an F-16 pilot, I can tell you that when you put on an F-16, the only way I can really describe it to make sense, I think, to the average person is you feel like the movie Iron Man. Not that I'm Robert Downey Jr. and that I've never put on the Iron Man suit, but what I will tell you is that it feels like you put the aircraft and wear it as a backpack, and the aircraft is the most maneuverable, most responsive, easy aircraft to fly, and there's nothing like it in the world. And the F-16 Block 70 continues to bring that forward, but it takes and improves upon the information that I used to have when I flew an F-16 Block 50 years ago. State-of-the-art mission suite, and we'll talk more about that in the next chart, please. So what did we do? We decided that what we wanted to do is go from the nose to the cockpit of the aircraft and improve information that gets to the pilot. So the first way we decided to do that is build upon the improved radar technology of the F-22 and the F-35. That is with an active electronically scanned array radar versus the mechanically scanned array radar of some of the aircraft of past. And the electronically scanned radar is an incredible piece of machinery, an incredible piece of technology. It increases the performance and the ability for the pilot to make decisions, and it does it with a much more mission-capable rate, if you will. So it fails far fewer times, hours that we can't even right now describe, 400-plus hours in some estimates, as far as mean time between failure because of the improvement in technology and capabilities of the radar. But the beauty is that it shares 95% commonality with the F-35 radar. And so as we've learned, as we've gone through these programs, as other countries and companies have worked to bring down the cost of technology, that's what we provide for a customer that buys the F-16 Block 70. Next chart, please. So let's talk a little bit about the radar. What does the radar provide? You can see the numbers here. I'm not going to talk through all the numbers, but what the radar provides is the ability for the pilot now to see targets further down the road, if you will. Once upon a time, you were limited in the range. You could see targets with your mechanically scanned array radar. It's not unlimited, but it's a much more improved performance as far as when you see the targets in front of you. It gives you more time as the pilot in the cockpit of your F-16 to make a decision on what to do with those targets. And as you have that, it also has the increased capability through software, through improved mission computers, to let the pilot see more targets. And then one of the things that you can see here, which is really important, is that the pilot now can do both air-to-air and air-to-ground at the same time. And the air-to-ground capabilities of the AESA radar are second to none. They allow the pilot to use synthetic aperture radar maps to build pictures on the ground that are almost as good as our sniper targeting pod video. Not quite, but still excellent capabilities to do in all weather conditions as far as giving the pilot situational awareness of both things on the ground and things in the air. And in the air, the pilot now has the opportunity to see more targets, make decisions on those targets faster, and then pass that information to his or her wingman. Next chart, please. But it takes more than just the radar. So the difference, if you look at the top right, the center pedestal display provides the pilot with the ability to see all that information we just spoke about in a very cohesive display that gives the pilot the ability to look at all things at once. Call it a tactical situational display, a display where the pilot can see their targets that their aircraft sees. They can see targets from other aircraft linked to it through the Link 16 system. And all that information is being processed by an improved mission computer that has room and capability for growth, but now operates on an Ethernet with a gig database that gives it much more capability to push data through the system. Next slide, please. But in addition to the things we talked about with the radar, the things we talked about with increased capability and situational awareness for the pilot, the F-16 Block 70 brings a lot of other things to bear. On the top left, I'm going to draw your attention to where it says life-saving safety improvements, a system called AGCAS. That stands for Automatic Ground Collision Avoidance System. So you can imagine if you have an aircraft that pulls 9 Gs to negative 3 Gs, that there are scenarios in the past, and unfortunately I've seen them myself, where a pilot may become incapacitated and the aircraft will hit the ground. That loss of life is unacceptable, and what Lockheed did, because of our awesome engineering capabilities, is we developed a system that now saves the pilot. So a pilot pulls 9 Gs, they pass out from G-induced loss of consciousness, the aircraft starts pointing at the ground, this system kicks in automatically and saves the pilot, recovers the aircraft to level flight until the pilot can get their coherence back and begin to fly the aircraft safely. The other thing that we don't talk often about is what's called PAR, Pilot Activated Recovery System. And there are scenarios where a pilot will be in a situation where they become incapacitated not because of G, but because of the outside visual conditions, because of inner ear problems, and potentially put themselves in a dangerous situation. And now with the Pilot Activated Recovery System, they can push the button, it rotates the aircraft to level flight, puts it at 300 knots, and gives the pilot time to get their bearings back about them and take the aircraft back to a safe landing. So 2 incredible improvements, we think, that make the F-16 Block 70 a great aircraft, especially for the Bulgarian Air Force. The advanced helmet, part of the F-16 Block 70 offer. The pilot now will have information in their helmet at all times. They can look and see, even when they're looking outside of the heads-up display, all the information portrayed. When you couple that with a missile like the AIM-9X, the pilot has what's called high off-bore sight capability now, so the pilot can look 90 degrees to their left or right. They can find a target. They can uncage on the target, if you will, which is waking the missile up, and shoot that missile at someone 90 degrees off to their left or right. So incredible capabilities that have to go with the joint helmet display. Increased fuel capacity. In the future, if the Bulgarian Air Force chooses to add what's called a conformal fuel tank, there are fuel tanks that bolt on top of the aircraft. The aircraft is provisioned for that, and so that helps add fuel and increase range and capability if the Bulgarian Air Force chooses to add that capability in the future. We spoke already about the sniper targeting pod, but there's no better targeting pod in the world. And so the sniper targeting pod allows the pilot the ability to see targets both on the ground and in the air, and that can be slewed with the radar to help the pilot have more situational awareness in air-to-air combat scenarios, as well as a great capability to target things on the ground. The picture you see in the middle, digital tasking, we talked about the center pedestal display in the previous slide, and all the information that's available to the pilot because of the AESA radar and the increased mission computers. But now imagine getting sources from off-board links. You're on link 16, you're in your NATO operable F-16 in Bulgaria, and now you're going to be getting links from both ground and air capability to add that capability to the pilot's awareness of what's going on around him or her. And then advanced weapons. The beauty of the F-16 is that it always is looking for ways to improve, and the way it does that primarily not just with sensors and the capabilities of the aircraft, but with the fact that the aircraft has now the most advanced weapons suite in the world, and it continues to improve as more advanced weapons come out, and our software engineers are always looking for ways to integrate those new weapons into the aircraft capability. Next chart, please. So one of the things that we're very proud of is the F-16 Block 70. If Bulgaria chooses the F-16 Block 70, is they're going to get an aircraft that has a 12,000-hour lifespan. So that is much more than almost any other of our competitors in the world. 12,000 hours, depending on how you fly the aircraft, will take the aircraft to 2050 and beyond. And the beauty is that all the other things we spoke about with engineering, with our product support, with sustainment, with upgrades, because the F-16 has seen so many upgrades from the 1980s to today, is that Lockheed is there to help you sustain that aircraft into the future. But the beauty is that the airframe has benefited from all the previous testing that our other customers have done, whether it's in actual flight testing or in other testing that we do structurally. As you can see here, I'll draw your eye to the fact that the aircraft that we test at Lockheed Martin now has over 27,000 hours of fatigue testing on that aircraft. So we're very proud of the fact that when you buy an F-16 Block 70, you get a 12,000-hour aircraft that's going to last you well into the future. Next slide. So this brings me to my summary, and we'll open for questions and answers. But really, what I think is important is, as I've read what I think is required for this competition, we think mission effectiveness, NATO interoperability, increased service life makes the F-16 the ideal choice for the Bulgarian Air Force, the Block 70. Block 70 has better range, better payload, better performance and acceleration than our other single-engine competitors. We think this is a strategic investment as it is. We know it's a very important investment and a very expensive one, and so we are always looking to provide value to the customer the best way we can. It's an advanced fourth-gen solution, so the beauty is that you're learning and building off of the fifth-gen technology that we talked about with F-22 and F-35 to make the most capable fourth-generation aircraft in the world right now, in our opinion, and that when you buy an F-16, you buy into the F-16 community. So that's the F-16 community in NATO, with over 700 F-16s operating in NATO countries in Europe. So we think that's critical. When you combine it with the U.S. Air Force, you're looking at over 1,000 F-16s operating in the NATO alliance. We think that you get all the other capabilities that come with it. So the capabilities of downloading from AWACS and other sources, both offboard and onboard, as well as through that link. And so for me, I want to make sure I thank you, sirs, for taking the time to be a part of our briefing today, and thank everyone else for their time, taking the time to come out and see if there are any questions for us. I'll hand it back to Solomon as we move forward.
Thank you very much. It is really impressive. Really impressive. Сега ще имате думата за въпроси. Всеки от вас може да попита всичко, което пожелае за тази система, самолетна система. I have one question. Actually, I have many questions, but one of them which immediately comes to my mind. You mentioned several times that the pilot can make the decision faster and better. Isn't it more reliable to have a computer to make the decision on behalf of the pilot and to offer the decision to the pilot, or the man-made decision is still better?
So I'll have to answer this with the fact that I'll admit that, as you heard, that I'm a retired pilot, so I will always say the pilot is the best choice as far as making decisions. Now, I think that it's critical that the computer systems on board the aircraft and what we just described help make the pilot's choices easier. but it's still the pilot in the loop that is going to be the best source in any Air Force to make the right decision at the right time, especially when it comes to lethal engagements.
I would add that what the systems do is they present actionable data to the pilot. Previous generation aircraft, the pilot would spend his time managing his sensors, managing his displays. And what this system now does is it does that. It uses the computers to make the pilot smarter. It manages those things for the pilot so that the pilot, while he's flying, has the very best possible situational awareness of what's going on around him, so that it puts him back in the business of being a tactician.
Okay, so the computer is making the digestion on behalf of the pilot, and the pilot is making the decision.
Yes.
Okay. Имате думата за въпроси, коментари. Тук имаме пилоти. Нека да ви представя. Нико, стани ако обичаш. Току-що горе на тестера, на автопилота, на симулатора, нашия млад пилот, старши лейтенант Николай Калайджиев, направи един тест и го питах как може да лесно ли управлява тази машина. И той ми каза, че много лесно, и ми каза, че може със същата лекота да управлява и F-35. И something that I see, дайте моля ви се една машинка за превод. Until they bring you the machine. This lieutenant is trying the simulator upstairs, and he is a person who is planning to become the third Bulgarian astronaut. Okay. So I think that it will be a very valuable connection between Lockheed Martin and a potential test pilot who would be testing your systems. You should know him. Нико, ще ми кажеш ли какво беше чувството да управляваш този самолет? Окей, но за теб не беше проблем. Окей. Имате ли други въпроси, някакви въпроси? I have one more question. You mentioned that this system has the lifespan of, say, 12,000 hours. Do you have a calculation? What is the price per hour? When you say that you're offering, you're making a better offer, and you know we have a Gripen, we have a Eurofighter, other machines. If you compare your offer per hour, what is the price regarding this criteria?
So I'll try to field that question. There's been a lot of studies done, and everybody measures cost per flight hour differently. There's one measurement, for instance, that would just say how much fuel and how many consumables does it take per flight hour. That's one calculation, but it's a very shallow calculation. In that calculation, I think you would find the F-16 in the same category with the much smaller engine, smaller aircraft, Gripen that you mentioned, and quite a bit less expensive than any twin-engine aircraft. But when you do an apples-to-apples comparison of the full cost of ownership, which entails a 40, 50-year cost of ownership and support and sustainment and upgrades and maintenance and all that goes with it, the F-16, quite honestly, is unmatched. And nobody can match it because it's the most affordable fighter aircraft to own and operate around. And the reason is because there's, as Jim mentioned, there's 3,000 of them flying around the world today. And so you have a very mature supply base that's building pieces, parts, and feeding a very mature F-16 worldwide fleet that has been around for a long time. And that compares to our competitor aircraft that may be 100 or 200 aircraft around the world. And so different people will show costs differently, and this is the message, but if you talk to the owners of the aircraft And there really aren't very many that own multiples of the competing aircraft. It's clear in those conversations that the F-16 is the most affordable aircraft to own and operate. It's just economies of scale that drive those affordabilities. So the F-16 is very affordable.
And who would be the armed forces which have best and richest experience with F-16? Maybe the U.S. Armed Forces is number one, but who is number two?
U.S. Air Force has several hundred, almost 1,000 aircraft in their inventory right now, and lots of countries that have, more than 200 or 300 aircraft in their inventory. I'm going to kind of go through the whole list for you. I think one of your charts had some pictures. 27 countries over the life of the F-16 have procured it. Slovakia, when we have that program finalized and put on contract, will be country number 28. I think it's important to note that in all of these years, we have had 16 of those 27 countries return 56 times to buy more F-16s. And so this is a clear testimony to the value of the F-16. Our customer set comes back for more because the aircraft, quite honestly, is unmatched. Dollar for dollar, pound for pound, is the best value fighter aircraft in the world.
And Solomon, if I get one other thing, one of the things that's great about the F-16 is that you ask, who is the second best. We would never comment on that. We value all of our customers, but what you do when you get an F-16 is you open yourself up not to just what Randy's talking about with sustainment, with upgrades of the aircraft, but also tactics. So now you open yourself up to the ability to attend to red flags, and not that you can't do that now with the current aircraft you have, but now the tactics and the ability to learn tactics from other users of the F-16 help countries develop their awareness of the aircraft very quickly and operate very seamlessly with other NATO partners that are flying similar F-16s.
I will just add one more thing that, Jim talked about 12,000 hours service life to the F-16. That program's been made possible by a contract that the U.S. Air Force entered into with Lockheed Martin. We took one of our aircraft, the Block 4050 aircraft, and put it in a structural testing facility and took it out, as Jim said, to nearly 28,000 hours. And so what that has made possible is for the United States Air Force to extend the life of their Block 40 and Block 50 fleet out to 2045. So the U.S. Air Force will fly for another 30 years their F-16 fleet. And because we have now, as Jim mentioned, 4 F-16V same mission system upgrade customers, 2 production customers, for any country that's considering new production aircraft, what you want to consider, in my opinion, is you want to be a part of a big and growing crowd. You don't want to be part of a small crowd, because big crowd with lots of aircraft means sharing of cost, driving down the cost to upgrade, to support and sustain over the years. This is a strategic decision that any customer makes, that any country has to make into a fighter aircraft. And so there's strength in numbers, and the great story of the F-16 is there's a lot of numbers.
So we have to understand that F-16 is not something like Bentley in the car production, but something like Volkswagen. Okay. Заповядайте. Първи, втори.
First of all, I would like to thank for the invitation and thank you very much to His Excellency Mr. Pasi and Kalinka too. Thank you very much for the presentations. Let me turn your attention a little bit back, 2006, 2005, 2006. We were lucky to have 2 representatives of Lockheed Martin carrying out the course in Rakovsky Defense and Staff College here in Sofia in Bulgaria. They trained 10 military officers from the Air Force to use forced value model system for evaluation of the aviation platforms. So my question goes to this matter. Do you still propose that system? And if so, can we have its latest version? Because you said, sir, and you are right, I am agree with you, that is a strategic decision for Bulgaria. So, this platform gives a very analytical opportunity to compare the capabilities of different aviation platforms. That was my question. Can we have this platform again? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Втория въпрос идва от предпоследния ред.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm really impressed of the presentation. And because I'm an economist, I have a concrete question. Is there any possibility of offset agreement with Lockheed Martin and Bulgaria? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And here is the third question.
Thank you, Moni. My name is Velizar Shaumanov. I'm sorry I was a little bit late because of other engagement. And congratulations for this event, Moni and our friends from US. My question is about using F-16 in the one Air Force together with Mig-29 and Su-25. Are there any challenges from your perspective? In 1999, during the Kosovo crisis, we signed an agreement with NATO for air corridor. So NATO airplanes, mostly F-16, to fly over Bulgaria from Turkey to Kosovo and really helping this way to shorten the conflict for the benefit of everyone. But one of the serious problems at this time was that during overfly of NATO airplanes, mostly F-16, but others as well, of course, we were asked really to shut down our radars, and especially surface-to-air missile complex radars, because there is a risk when normal modern airplane has a signal from surface-to-air missile or other not so friendly equipment to react. So are there any real challenges how we could overcome this, and could we work in advance to resolve all such problems? Because I strongly believe F-16, new F-16 Block 70 is the best choice for Bulgaria. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you. Въпрос номер 4.
Добър ден, аз се казвам Димитър Ставров от списание Клуб Криле. В проекта за инвестиционен разход за нов изтребител на българските ВВС е записано, че първите доставки трябва да бъдат след 2 години. При положение, че в момента вие местите вашата линия за производство от Форт Уърт в Гринвил, Джорджия, кога тя ще заработи и при положение, че при нас има още 3 клиенти, кога ще могат да бъдат доставени първите F-16 за България?
Благодаря ви. Възбуди се интереса. Въпрос номер 5.
Добър ден. Моят въпрос е малко развитие на предишния. През миналата седмица четох една доста интересна новина от Reuters, че в Индия върви един доста голям конкурс в момента за над 100 самолета, където F-16 Block 70 е един от основните кандидати. И там, като част от едно индустриално сътрудничество, което Индия търси, Lockheed е обещал да пренесе линията за крайно сглобяване в Индия, изцяло да я пренесе. А ако, отново казвам, ако спечели там, което аз ви го пожелавам, мисля, че за Индия това ще бъде добър самолет, отличен. Въпросът ми е как едно такова развитие би се отразило на сроковете на доставка в България? Благодаря.
На този етап има ли още един въпрос? Вдигната ръка. Заповядайте.
Георги Ангелов, Дневник. то продължение на другите два въпроса, дали офертата, която смятате да предложи, ще бъде в рамките на парите приготвени от българското правителство и в така наречения конкурса също е предвидено част от нещата да се сглобяват и извършват в България. Каква част от производството може да бъде пренесена в България? Благодаря.
Благодаря ми, мисля, че направи... Айде да дадем и този въпрос, за да сме сигурни, че всичко е като хората.
Въпрос е съвсем кратък. Офертата на Lockheed Martin предвижда ли разсрочено плащане, така както е гласуван проект от парламента? Разсрочено плащане предвижда ли? Дългогодишно разсрочено плащане.
Благодаря. Okay, gentlemen, you have the floor.
The first question, I think, was the force value model question, the availability of that. I think we're going to have to go back and check on it. Modeling, in some cases, has changed over the years since the 2005 or 6 time frame, but I've made a note. After this is all done, if you'll give me your business card, I will get back to you, because I got to go back and find out if it's still current, if we have it available. Well, I question whether or not that model is still being used and is current. But if it's not, there may be another force value model replacement that we could get some access to for the use for the in particular for government officials, if that is their desire. So give me your business card and we'll get back to you. Thank you, sir. Very good.
Thank you.
So question number 2 was an industrial cooperation question.
Okay, I think you have to turn your knob. All right, so for the industrial cooperation, the answer is yes. It is part of this campaign. It is part of the Lockheed Martin offer. We brought our expert with us. So if you have questions afterwards, please track us down. Stan, if you raise your hand. This is Mr. Stan Stelmach. And so one of the things that we like to talk about at Lockheed is that we take industrial cooperation very seriously. And as you look at how an F-16 is built, so to some of the delivery questions, and I'll let Randy handle the India question. But if you look at the way an F-16 is built, both today and in the past, our partners around the world have built multiple parts of the F-16. Now, realistically, Bulgaria will not probably be able to build parts just for the Bulgarian F-16s, just because of the nature of how that would affect the cost of building subcomponents, as you can imagine. But Mr. Stelmach is looking for other opportunities for industrial cooperation, and that is definitely part of our package as far as what we submit here for this program. As far as aircraft delivery goes, that eventually becomes a government-to-government discussion. So India selecting the F-16, and Randy can talk more about India. He has been a part of that program from its inception, but that will not delay or affect the delivery time frame of the F-16 here in Bulgaria. The F-16 timing, we think, is going to be good as we begin to build up operations in Greenville, South Carolina, and we begin to move to a 2 or more aircraft a month delivery flow. That we will look to partner together with both the Bulgarian Air Force as well as the U.S. Air Force that handles that and put together what we think is a timeline that hopefully meets the Bulgarian Air Force schedule for delivery.
So I'm going to double back and kind of raise the level of the response on what was termed offset. I'll term it industrial cooperation, and just remind everybody here who Lockheed Martin is. We do this everywhere we go. We work with local industry. We set that industry up, and we do it really, quite honestly, based on what the requirements of the government are, or what the requirements of the industry might be to assist with the program. So in some countries it might be assembly lines, in other countries it might be pieces, parts, in other countries it might be technology transfer to support related kinds of activities. We have put production lines in multiple countries. We do that still today. We're doing it on F-35 in Italy. We're doing it in Japan. For 40 years now, Lockheed Martin has been a world leader in working with industry to produce products, for instance, like the F-2 in Japan and products like the T-50 in South Korea. And so whatever the requirements are here in Bulgaria, Stan will determine what those are. He'll work with your government, work with your industry, and we'll put a world-class industrial cooperation program together for Bulgaria. So going back now to the question on India. So we are, in fact, in a heated competition in India, and Lockheed Martin has offered, as you noted, to move the F-16 production line and establish an exclusive F-16 production line in India. And that has really nothing to do with our move to Greenville, South Carolina. We have moved our F-16 production to Greenville because we needed all of the space in Fort Worth, Texas, where the F-16 has been being built for the past 40 years, for the F-35. So every acre, every square meter in Fort Worth is now being used to ramp up F-35 production to what will be 15 aircraft or more per month, 170, 180 aircraft as we go into multi-year production of the F-35. And so for India, if at some point they make an F-16 selection, our plan would be actually to build the first squadron of F-16s for India from our Greenville, South Carolina facility. And the second squadron, as you stand up, as you build the facilities and stand up the capacity to build aircraft from a new production facility in India, that will take time. So on the timelines that we foresee and envision here for Bulgaria, as I understand those timelines as they exist today, I believe the aircraft that we're discussing for Bulgaria will come from the Greenville, South Carolina facility. I think the timeline to establish production for India will extend beyond the required delivery timelines for Bulgaria. So the next question, or actually in between, was a interoperability question, operating F-16s together with MiG. Yeah.
So, sir, your question to the Mig-29 interoperability, I think that for us at Lockheed, we're probably not the experts on, I think, Randy, if you turn your mic off. We're probably not the experts on interoperability with a Mig-29. I know that we have had customers, Poland, I think primarily, that did F-16s together with Mig-29s and have operated their fleets together. What I will say is that I think that it will improve a MiG-29 pilot's capability in the air, because the F-16 pilot can probably pass them information that they may not have access to. However, how that information is passed is probably going to be verbal more than it will be off of, say, unless the aircraft are retrofitted, the MiGs are retrofitted with like a Link 16. But I think that for the most part, the aircraft can operate together. You can begin to build maybe a shift in tactics as you take your MiG-29 pilots and train them in the F-16. The fact that if you build your initial cadre, your initial pilot corps with your MiG-29 pilots, I think that will help with that interoperability. We've seen that with other customers as they transition from other platforms. And so I think that the answer is yes, they can be done. I think there will be difficulties with it. But our hope is that you build up the F-16 fleet at a rate that allows you to then become a sole F-16 user in the future.
Was there one more question? There was another industrial participation question. I think there was two of those, and hopefully we've kind of captured that. And I didn't catch all of the last question. Might have been payment-related question.
Cascade payment.
So I know there's going to be some discussion between the governments.
But this is government to government.
It's a government-to-government discussion.
Значи това е дискусия между правителствата. Lockheed Martin ще ви кажа тук за тактическите, оперативните, стратегическите и прочие възможности на самолетите, но това какво ще се договорят Доналд Тръмп и Бойко Борисов, те не знаят.
Right. So unlike competing, I'll just add that unlike competing aircraft, when you buy an F-16, you buy it through what we call the Foreign Military Sales System. The U.S. government has a FMS, Foreign Military Sales System. And that process brings great value, I believe, to the customer. You use the U.S. government's experts who draw from 30, 40 plus years of experience of having contracted for 4,500 plus F-16s, and it brings great value to customers who buy through the FMS process because they know exactly what it cost Lockheed Martin to build an F-16, and they become your agent to get you the very best deal possible, and they have full access to Lockheed Martin's data and our books, so to speak. So you're
Не виждам повече вдигнати ръце, но имахме една изключително компетентна дискусия. One last question before we invite everybody to test on the simulator F-16. Which is the country, I wouldn't say which is your best client, but which is the country in which F-16 has the most heavy duty, mostly exploited, the most hour in the air?
Other than the U.S., boy, I don't know. You know, there's a lot of countries, countries that live in dangerous neighborhoods. I'll say it this way: have a lot of F-16s in their inventory, and so you would, for instance, take one example would be that everybody would recognize would be Israel, and so they have a lot of F-16s in their inventory. And they're not the only country, though. There's many countries, and these aircraft are used on a daily basis, on a regular basis, and they depend on these aircraft to bring security and stability to their nations, and there are 25 countries that do that. A lot of F-16s around the world in that 3,000.
25 countries. 25 countries. So this is a new alliance, I would say. New international alliance, which you could join without negotiations like we joined NATO or the European Union, but in the easier way, buying a few aircraft.
So coming back to the NATO piece of that, Jim mentioned in his briefing, there are more than 700 F-16s in the NATO alliance. And of course, the F-16 was originally birthed through many of those countries, the U.S. and 4 partner nations, Denmark, Norway, Netherlands, and Portugal. And so those countries continue to fly their F-16s. Many of them are also now procuring the F-35. It's those alliances that the F-16 makes possible and establish the kinds of relationships in the Air Force to Air Force and mill to mill relationships that allow for stability and security.
I'd like to add one thing as well, and I think it is, if you look here in this part of the world, there are some really experienced F-16 users. Greece is one, Poland, and now new F-16 users as well, and we think that what the F-16 brings to the Bulgarian Air Force is the ability to build, you obviously have good existing partnerships and relationships with those nations, but now as you take F-16 to F-16 user, as we talked about, whether it's combined logistics or tactics and training, but we think that there are some excellent F-16 users here in this part of Central Europe and Greece that are really would be beneficial as far as helping build basically the F-16 know-how of the Bulgarian Air Force as they transition.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Now everybody is invited for a cocktail in front of this room, and immediately after that the simulator is upstairs. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you.